time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur podcast. For those of you who are too inspired to retire, or who are refiring instead of retiring, or who are just generally kicking ass and taking names, welcome to this episode. Speaking of kicking ass and taking names, I have with me the fabulous and wonderful Dr. Richard Kaye. Hi, Richard. How are you?
Absolutely magnificent.
I've heard that about you. All right. So you guys know I will give you the official word. Then I'm going to ask him to tell us the juicy, deep secrets behind the scenes. And we'll launch into discussing publicity and how you can use it to be powerful, profitable publicity and the difference it can make to your business and to advancing whatever your projects are, even if you are not launching a business. It could be that you have a social enterprise or a nonprofit or something that requires, or a charitable event that you want to drive traffic to. This is great information for you to listen to. So it's about the kind of visibility that doesn't just boost your brand, it changes your business, your income, and your legacy. So listen up. Richard's been at this a long time and has a lot of wisdom to share. So I'm going to tell you about Richard. So meet Dr. Richard Kaye, the Maestro of Business Acceleration. Love that title. For over 2 decades, Richard has been the driving force behind the success stories of countless entrepreneurs, propelling them to unparalleled growth. His secret weapon: profitable, powerful publicity that transformed businesses from early stage infancy to revenue-rich maturity. Dr. Kaye isn't just a consultant, he's a trailblazer in the world of business evolution. A sought-after guest on podcasts and webinars, he's left his mark on radio and television programs, gracing screens on KGTV in San Diego and KTLA in Los Angeles. I'm having a tongue-tied day. PBS featured a special that showcased the profound impact of his work. Oh, that's cool. I want to hear about that. He is the proud recipient of the White House Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. So, and we're going to have to hear about that, of course, as well. All right. So, hi. Now, that's all of the, important accomplishments and achievements, or just a small portion of yours. Tell us something that people would not guess about you. Maybe even your friends don't know. We won't find it on your website. What's something that would surprise people?
I don't even know if it's on my website. My first career was electronics engineer. And
okay.
And I needed something more rewarding to do with my life.
Yep.
And went to chiropractic college.
Okay.
Graduated as a doctor of chiropractic, gotten my MGB, and with this audience, you may remember what that was. Little two-seater British sports car. Drove from New York to San Diego and set up a chiropractic practice.
Ah, cool. Okay. And how long were you a chiropractor?
30 years, Jeanette.
30 years. That's
30 years. Yeah.
Okay. And what made you decide to change from your chiropractic to what you've been doing?
I'm going to go back before that, because I started, when I went to San Diego, there were 300 chiropractors in San Diego.
That's a lot.
Exactly. How do you start, let alone grow any business in such a crowded field?
Yeah.
And that's the essence of what we're going to talk about today. Even when you're retiring or just beginning, the principles are the same. You want people to know that you're there. Mm-hmm. I did some research and explored and discovered marketing and publicity really fast. Mm-hmm. I got myself, Jeanette, invited to a morning television talk show, the only television talk show in San Diego. Mm-hmm. Then I got invited back every month for a year. We can talk about how you get that done. Well, now I'm pretty visible in town. Then I got an article published in the San Diego Tribune. Now I'm even more visible. Then I got an article in the Los Angeles Times, increases visibility. Now, Jeanette, you know the expression, ladies and gentlemen, you know the expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Let's take it a step further. It's who knows you. I mean, I know the guy who signed that's the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know the guy who signed it, whatever your politics are, Joe Biden, he doesn't have a clue who I am. It's who knows you.
Right.
So watch this. I get a phone call one day from the producer of the ABC News in San Diego. The essence of her question is, who are you? I'm hearing your name. I'm seeing your name because I was in newspapers and, all that kind of stuff. Well, now I got a 6:30 news segment about me. Then a short time after that, Jeanette, I get a phone call from the producer of PBS. Essence, same kind of thing. Who are you? Well, now I got a PBS segment about me. Now, I'm going to give you an idea how long ago this was. I was handing my practice members VHS tapes. We all remember those, okay?
Yep. Yes, I have some publicity on VHS tapes. Can't get them, but I have it.
Exactly. Now, here's the key. What do you do with it? Well, yeah, I was leaving on my front counter, give this to your neighbor, give this to your boss, give this to your family. And it's leverage. It's letting people know it's like that. I rearranged my office just to put it there because it says whatever it says, but it says something. Someone recognized me. I had a phone call one day. Hey, you're the recipient of. So that's what publicity does when you leverage it. So that's a background of how I transitioned from fairly decent practice in San Diego to being a guy involved in business. Jeanette, I was meditating one day and I heard, shut your practice and work with entrepreneurs. And I went,
yeah,
there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Well, just extend the story a little bit. The following week, I asked, is this a test? And they said no. Okay. 3 weeks later, I shut my practice. I already owned 80 acres. I live now in Taos, New Mexico. I already owned 80 acres out here, packed everything up, moved out here, and I thought I'd take time off. That lasted about a nanosecond. And I've been working with entrepreneurs ever since. Now, whether you want to call it divine guidance, channeling, I don't care what we call it. The key here is listen to your guidance. Whether it's from outside and you bring it in or from your inside, listen when you get those kinds of messages. We've all had this experience. You're driving up the street and you have to make a right and you make a left. You may have just avoided an accident by going the other way.
Yes.
Listen
when we tap in, it's quite amazing. I once did, this is not quite the same thing, and I've had callings like you're talking about. And I do want to loop back to that because I think it's really important. But I once decided I was going to find a location in a city I'd never been in by intuition alone. I had the address. I had no idea where it was. And I literally just listened. Do I go right, left? Do I go right, left?
Yeah.
And I'd been driving quite a while, and I was starting to lose my faith that this was working. So I stopped and asked someone. I was 2 blocks from my destination.
Wow.
And I literally had no clue, and I just literally turned, went straight, did what I was told. And had I continued to listen and not stopped, I probably would have got there. But nonetheless, it was pretty powerful in terms of following that voice.
And your inner voice said, stop and ask. It's the same thing.
Exactly. It might have been that I, needed that last little piece for the validation or whatever. But so I want to come back to the following the call, because I think that that's such a deep and important conversation. But before we do that, tell us a little bit more about your why, your purpose. What is it that still pulls you forward or pushes you?
The organization that I came across in the last few years of my chiropractic practice, the name of it was IBI, Income Builders International, and it morphed into something called CEO Space. And I was invited to participate.
Mhm.
I learned, laughing, my BS in business management was just that, but I learned about doing high level business, helping people raise capital, grow their business. I became vice president of that organization after a while. And the joy of watching people with nascent ideas coming in, I have a dream,
Mm.
or I have a concept, or I have an idea, and achieving the goals that were bigger than they even thought. Um, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, the founder of that organization, the CEO, a guy named Bernie Dorman, died. He had a heart attack. In essence, the organization was done. Someone reached out to me. His name is David Fagan. We had known one another through CEO Space, and ironically, we had taught at the same conferences. So our paths were, he called me up and he said, I want to fly you and your wife out. I'm in New Mexico. As I said, he's in Phoenix. He flew us out. He said, let's work together. So what we do now is get people, as you mentioned, profitable, powerful publicity. Why do I do that? Which is the basis of the question. No matter how good you are in business, if people don't know who you are, you don't have business. Mm. Yeah. It's called top of mind awareness. And again, that's how my practice grew in San Diego, PBS, ABC, radio, etc. Mm-hmm. The most widely consumed beverage on the planet after water is Coca-Cola. $5 billion, $5 billion a year they spend on advertising. Why? To keep it top of mind. Right. Now, I don't know about you. I don't particularly have that kind of budget just for marketing and advertising. The reason I do what I do, and I didn't say this. I retired when I came out here. I shut my practice. I came out here and I retired. Mm-hmm. And like many of you, in your audience here, you can't just lie on a beach and drink margaritas. It gets old. Mm-hmm. My model on life is, Jeanette, is to be in service to as many people as I can. You'll often hear me ask, what do you need next? How may I serve you? And when you do that from a place of service, the feedback, financial, emotional, spiritual, it lights me up to watch people say, I did it. Well, I'll give you an example. It's some of the things we do. This is a magazine, New York City Independent. Most people know that lady. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have clients featured on the other side. Yeah. Half the magazine reads one way, half the other. Yeah. I got a whole stack of them here, but I pulled two out just as an example. Yeah. You know that lady? Yeah. Clients featured on the other side. Now, what does this do for you? This is called leverage. Mm-hmm. To have a 1,900, 2,000 word article and to be able to say, I was featured in a magazine with Nicole Kidman, mm-hmm. or Beyonce or Tom Hanks or any of these people. That's what builds your credibility and your reputation. Mm-hmm. Did that make me any money? No. That's not what it's about. Right. Does this make people money? No. But the ability to say, oh, shoot, someone recognized them. Someone thought enough to write an article about them. Right. These are the kinds of things that you accomplish when you know how. Right. When you get out into the world and you make a decision. Over the years doing this, one of my questions in an interview process is, what's the goal for your business? Mm-hmm. Jeanette, I kid you not, I had at least two that I remember say to me, I want to sell the frickin' business and lie on the beach and drink margaritas. I'm not interested in that person. Yeah. When someone in different language says, I want to serve as many people as I can, now you got my attention. Mm-hmm. So ladies and gentlemen, I invite you, play bigger, raise your vibration, go out and serve more people. Mm. That's it's almost the mic drop that we should close on, but there's way too much more to listen to. Okay, so you clearly are passionate about publicity. Why does it matter to you so much to get entrepreneurs seen and heard and visible? Why? So they can serve more people, so they can stay in business. Okay. I'll repeat it. If no one knows who you are, I don't care who you are,
Yeah.
or how good you are. If no one knows about you, and everyone is scrambling for clients. Now, the distinction is, do you have to go out and hunt them down,
Mm-hmm.
or are they going to find you?
Yeah.
And when we work with people like this, we blast it all over. We let people know on social and email. We get people interviewed on ABC and Fox and CNN. And we now have a contract, depending on where you really want to go, to produce television shows on Binge TV.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our clients, many of you have heard of, Lisa Nichols. I invited Lisa to come participate in one of her programs. She said, I choose you. That's what you want people to say. I choose you. We do, I don't know about all of it, but at least most of it for marketing. We've had Lisa interviewed at the NASDAQ studio in Manhattan. We've had Lisa featured on the NASDAQ Jumbotron in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. No one points and says, oh, that picture up there, I want to do. No. It's leverage, it's credibility.
Right.
Again, the underlying is so that you can get your word out to the world. Mm-hmm. I go back to my beginning days in publicity, 300 chiropractors. How do you stand out? Mm-hmm. You got to do something different.
Right.
You got to do something different.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about, I want to go back to the calling, because I think that is something that many people who are older are in a couple of different stages. They're in I call it the getting clear stage, where they're, who am I now that I'm not the CEO? Who am I now that I'm not? Mm-hmm. Who am I now that I'm, not who I've been my whole life? Now what? And there can be a real identity crisis, because we wrap our identity so much up in what we do in our business, our career, or whatever, and in our roles. And so when that all changes, which it often does as we get older, we can be at a loss for purpose, for meaning, for self-definition, for identity. And we often there's a lot of opportunities, and those, I think everyone gets calls, but not everybody listens. Mm-hmm. I received a calling when I set up my business to shift it, over 10 years ago now, to really focus just on women. And I got this whole big download, which I resisted, but I finally stepped into. And the same thing with the whole Maturepreneur calling. It was something that impinged on me and then developed into this impetus, or this calling. We sometimes have a lot of resistance to those calls, or stubbornness, or fear, or whatever. What have you done in your life to be able to listen to the calling better? Let's start with that.
I love the question. Get out of my own way. Most people live in certainty. Mm-hmm. For guys, you get up, you shave the same side of your face every day. Guys and girls, you put the same leg through your underpants or pantyhose on. The more uncertainty you can handle in your life, the better the quality of your life. Step in and embrace the unknown. How many people go to the same vacation spot every single year, eat at the same restaurant, when they go out to dinner? Mm-hmm. Certainty is comfort. Mm-hmm. You got to step out of your comfort zone to achieve growth.
Yeah. And
I love what I heard you say, that I was defined as doctor. That was my defining role. And I don't know what the shift was, but I never had my practice members call me doctor. I was Richard. It was a different relationship. And listening to you, I'm going to give you another story. You've met my wife, Angela Lee. She, ladies and gentlemen, she is a remarkable author. She writes children's books, fantasy stories, ANGELALEGH.com. If you got kids or grandkids, we grew up with our parents, our teachers, our policemen, our principals, our rabbis, our ministers, infusing their worldview on us. Mm-hmm. Who says it was healthy? Okay. Her work is about helping kids grow to healthy adults with a high emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. Instead of repressing, I don't know about you, children are meant to be seen and not heard. Well, how freaking cruel is that? Don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. That was my. No, you got to express your emotions. So, oh, I've got a black one also. It's cool.
Yeah, I know. And he really, really loves to get in the camera when
Absolutely. So, Angela's from San Francisco. She was living in the UK at the time. And I was facilitating a breakout room in a networking event. And in her voice, she says, I heard this guy talking about having a soul to soul conversation with his son, as distinct from father-son, because that wasn't working. His mother died. It was about 6 years ago. He called me, Dad, I'm coming out to coming out to New Mexico. I said, great, you had an apartment. No, I'm moving in with you. He was 36. And the father-son just wasn't working. So I trace this back to listen to your inner voice or outer voice. Again, channeling, download, some of us what we call internal, some external. Listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't question it. Follow it. What if it's right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have still been practicing chiropractic in San Diego, which would have been marvelous. It's a different life when you tune in to your higher purpose. Mm. You're not identified by what you do, your marital status, and too many people put tags on people. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's single, he's single. They're not. No. It's just a state of being. Mm. You will find who you are put on this planet to be, I guess, in my experience, when you get out of your own way.
Yeah. Yes. I love you. I hear that. And it takes a degree of courage to be willing to take the step to follow it, because in most cases, how do you explain it? To other people, it seems, you're breaking out of the mold, not who people know you to be, all of those things. There's, societal, family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you get the courage to make those leaps?
One of my favorite, and I have a few quotations, is Eleanor Roosevelt. The quote is real. I don't know if the story that she had a sign in her front yard is real or not. What you think of me is none of my business. Mm-hmm. If you don't own yourself, someone else will. We see that in too many relationships.
Yeah.
If you don't own yourself, someone will. If you're at effect as distinct from its cause, you will have a much richer, fuller, wealthier, and I just don't mean finance, abundance in life. Take control of your own life. Don't yield to others. Again, we were taught that in grade school. Sit down, be just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like everyone else.
Exactly.
And Frank Sinatra, I want to be me.
Yeah.
Be who you are put on this planet to be, and the heck with anyone else's judgment, because that's opinion is a nice word, judgment of what you're doing.
Yes.
Again, I shut my practice within 3 weeks. I didn't have time to sell it. I just followed. Can't you just see me? No, I'm leaving the state.
Yeah.
And if you follow your guidance, however that shows up for you, you're going to find who you are. And I assert it's a lot more powerful than you've ever imagined.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I believe that the path to our purpose is always, or we find our purpose more fully on the path of pleasure. And pleasure comes from saying yes to what we're called to, not struggling in resistance and denial and fear and so on. So I think that we really, like you said, deepen into who we're meant to be when we say yes. I used to use the analogy of, and spent a lot of my life in what I call the round room. And it was a round room with many, many doors. And I would sit in the room trying to figure out what door I'm supposed to go through. And what if I go through that door and go down that path and that's not the right path for me? Well, then I will have wasted all that time and effort. And I have to come back and then I have to choose another door, and on and on and on. This analysis paralysis had me in this round room doing nothing for many years, or, versions of not fully going all in. And finally, just pick a damn door.
Yes.
Avoid the fear of, picking the wrong door, etc. And I got more information, of course, from taking action than from trying to get clear and then take action. And so if nothing else, taking action will help you get the clarity. It doesn't work the other way around. So if you hear a calling, follow it, trust it. And worst case scenario, it doesn't work and you back up and go back to whatever you were doing or pick something new or whatever. So let's talk a bit more about your journey as an entrepreneur. So you've been doing this for quite a while. You've been working with someone else as well in top talent agency. What do you think is the thing that's the most different for who you are as an entrepreneur now than who you were 10 or 20 years ago?
Oh my God, this. In the past, it was a networking meeting, God knows how many times a week, and traveling, and we still do that. We can grow business just like this.
Yeah.
And now, for example, many of our events through Top Talent, they're virtual. I've got an event coming up. We do several a year that are virtual. On December 1 and 2, we're having another live event in Hollywood. We had just over 200 people within the past month in Hollywood, and we're doing another one in December. And why do we do these? This is great, and I love it. I mean, I don't have to wear, nice pants. It's like the old days in the news when it was revealed that the newscasters only dressed from the waist up. Now we all do that. But what would it be like to be on a red carpet with Lisa Nichols or James Dentley, Sir Baron James Dentley, or some big players, and be interviewed on live television and have your red carpet images? Now, it's a high in the moment. Then what? Stick around, ladies and gentlemen, because as we move through this, you're going to get a gift, how to leverage all that. It's a short, maybe 6-minute video, how to leverage any publicity you have. I've got, my wife and I have got red carpet images from, 6, 10, 12 different events. And what does it say? It says, hey, this person's different. This is not just me and, Angela. This person's different. They're interviewed or be on a panel with a Lisa Nichols or a Dan Clark or a Forbes Riley. This is what leverage is. The reason we do live events, they're coming back, thank goodness, is people want to travel. They want to get out of the house. They want to be face to face with other people.
Yeah.
And as much as I enjoy these, going out to dinner is nice. And when you do it with a couple of hundred people, and I don't mean that facetiously. Yeah. And at our events, our cohort are people who are there to serve. We have people, they volunteer just to be there and do interviews. Why? Because they put it on their podcast, on their Facebook channel. What does it give them? It gives them credibility. And I just keep going back to Lisa because she's one of our keynoters, and Sharon Lecter and all these people. It adds to their credibility. I was just on a networking event just before this one, and I was talking about an event coming up, and the guy who spoke after me says, yeah, I'm going to be a speaker at that. Why did he say that? It raises his credibility, and that's what you want to do. It goes back to your influence, credibility, and exposure. That's what it's all about.
So let's talk about that a bit. How do people who might be, couple of different camps. There's those who are getting clear. What's next? Who am I now that I'm not who I've been? And they need to clarify their vision for their life, their purpose, and how they're going to monetize that in whatever way, how they're going to live into that in a way that fits for them. The getting going, those who are launching and getting started with their nonprofit or their business or their whatever that they're doing. And then the keeping goings, people like you and I have been at this for quite a long time and need to stay in the game. So let's talk about publicity for the different stages. When people are starting out, is it too early for publicity if they, aren't known, et cetera, and how do they think about it so that they will actually send in the press release or pick up the phone or whatever?
I'm laughing because I hear that a lot. My book isn't released yet. I'm not ready. I'm ready, You'll never see a commercial for a movie. It says, opens today in theaters near you. Yeah. It takes time to get the machine going.
Yeah.
It gets time to get into the magazines, to get into the to book a ABC studio. So the time to begin the exploration is now. It may not be time to stroke a check. The time to begin the exploration is the moment you recognize that you are seeking more. We work with people who are seekers. What does that mean? Seeking more. We're not the quiescent crew who, hey, I'm pretty happy. That's called energy neutral. I'm okay where I am. Oh, it's all good. And that sucks. You want to grow. So when you get the impetus, and if you want to reach out, it's talkaboutpublicity.com. Very simple. Takes you right to my calendar. Talkaboutpublicity.com. Well, one word. Schedule a call, and we can explore what the next steps may be for you. And it may. We've got people. Kind of phone call. Whenever it was yesterday. Okay, let's touch base in 6 months.
Yep.
She's not ready financially nor emotionally. It's not even where her business is. Once you take that leap, I mean, again, being in a magazine like that, and this isn't newsprint. I mean, you can see this is glossy, this is good stuff. Or getting your book out. We work with people who want to have best-selling books. And let's make a distinction here. Publish simply means make available to the public. That's all it means.
Yeah.
If you go to a big house and they accept you, their first question is, what's your marketing budget? And then they own you for 5 years.
Yes.
They own you. Jeanette and ladies and gentlemen, you and I can go on Amazon and publish our own book. Mm-hmm. You pray to God it's edited properly, and that's more than commas and quotations. Does it flow? Does this chapter belong before or after this? Is the cover a killer cover? Because that's what sells. That's what helps sell books. And you hope maybe your parents or family will read it. Then you work with someone such as what we do, a top talent agency. We guarantee #1 best-selling books, and not just in one, but in multiple categories, because that's our connections. And big deal. So you're an Amazon bestseller. It's the leverage that we work with you that gets you out there. And if any of you have a thought of writing a book, please do not say, oh, this person can teach me to write an AI book in 93 and a half. Don't do it. Do not write an AI book. Do not fog your brain with that kind of crap. Write it from your soul. It'll have, I mean, you can use AI to embellish and add, and but don't write an AI-driven book. It's not good. So you want to work with the professionals who know how to do it. Yes.
Yes, I totally agree. So you mentioned not emotionally ready. So tell me a little bit more about that. What state do people need to be in to do publicity versus the stage of business? Because you're right, they can do it right at the beginning, all the way along when they're really well established. But what state do people need to be in to do publicity effectively?
Whenever they're ready. We have one, and I say only one, billionaire client. We've got a client who, the CEO, he owns $100 million company. You've got, again, Lisa Nichols, people like this. I don't know her net worth. I don't even care. I mean, she's out there. So you've got high, and then you've got people who are just starting out. When you get the urge, know that you're tired of what's been happening and you're ready for that exponential growth, and it may scare you. I spoke with a young lady the other day. She was referred to me. She says, I don't want to be on television. I don't want to be in magazines. I said, honey, you're the CEO of the company. You're the face of the company. Now, if you're buying Coca-Cola or General Motors, even the CEO of General Motors was out there. When you know that you are the face of the company, and she never got back to me because she's terrified. And if I look at the energy underneath, she's more terrified of growing the business and taking that on than being the face.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you that you have to do it. I'm just inviting you that if you're ready to grow, and by the way, we work with a lot of solopreneurs, people who are, when I say just, or an author, or they have a singular product. We got a young lady in the UK. She's got amazing furniture and love working with her. It's her company. And many, many solopreneurs. So no matter where you are in your business, again, it's an invitation. Let's have a conversation, explore. And when I tell you I won't want to work with you unless you're ready from a business perspective, and you should all own this as a business perspective. And this is another thing that's different between then and now. Back then, if someone didn't like you, great, go away. today on social, they'll go out and tear you to pieces.
Yeah.
I want our clients to become raving fans, and that's what we work with.
Yeah.
So
coming back to that emotionally ready, what I'm hearing is, and what I know from myself and my clients is, they don't necessarily have to be ready, as in feel 100% confident and prepared and so forth. They need to be willing to step up,
yes,
step in.
I like that word. Yes.
Right. It's not about being ready per se. And like you said earlier, and I love this quote, I'm going to see if we can pull it out as a little viral post, is the more uncertainty you can handle, the better the quality of your life. Which, people constantly say to me, how do you do that mobile lifestyle thing where you're never in the same place for long and stuff? And it's like, well, you get used to uncertainty, and uncertainty. Yes. And being outside your comfort zone becomes comfortable, becomes easier, becomes something that you aspire to instead of run away from. So publicity can also take you outside of your comfort zone, especially if you're stretching.
Yes.
And so it'll be scary. So just have that as a given and do it anyways. So
I'm going to pause you.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be scary. Scary or depression or repression is when your map of the world doesn't match reality. Mm-hmm. That can be scary unless you say, like in your lifestyle, hey, this is cool, and you embrace it.
Yeah.
Scary is just judgment.
Yep, that's right. Excited and scared are the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about how someone would go about, what are some of the practical do-it-yourself steps to get some publicity?
As I did in the mid-70s, reach out. Now, here's the key. Don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about how wonderful, magnificent, how brilliant you are. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do. Everybody wants one thing. What's in it for me? Ladies and gentlemen, when I talked to Jeanette about being on here, I didn't say all those. Yeah, my bio says that. But I talked about that your audience, you ladies and gentlemen, are going to learn things. Yeah. That's what every host, writer, newspaper, magazine, what is the viewer going to get out of it? Mm-hmm. When you're on television, and I'll give you just one clue, and Jeanette, I want to acknowledge you because you've been in the camera directly. If you are on television or on one of these things and you're out here, man, you've lost total connection. Be here now.
Yes.
Ram Dass said it beautifully. Be here now.
Yeah.
So when you pitch what the audience is going to get out of it. Now, when I pitched way back when, Jeanette, you'd remember the Yellow Pages.
Yes.
You had to go out and look. I'm going to do I have a few minutes to tell people how to get invited to be guests on radio?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how I did it back then. I went into the Yellow Pages, but I'm going to give you a pre-frame. Find a radio talk show that you like. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a particular sports fan. I don't know who won, let alone who played in the last Super Bowl. I'm not going to be on a sports program because after Hello, I got nothing to say, nothing to add.
Yep.
Find a program that you like, even podcasts. Radio is a better example. Make sure that it's your cohort, that people can learn from what you are offering. Don't pitch the host. They're the last one. They may not even know who you are until you're booked. Mm-hmm. Now, back then, you had to go into the Yellow Pages and find the producer. Mm-hmm. So find the producer. Mm-hmm. And if there's a phone number, call them. Mm-hmm. And ask them, are you booking guests? Now, that may sound like a dumb question, but sure, you can come in and get your ego out of the way. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you something else I hadn't thought of, something that I use. And Jeanette, I don't even know if I sent it to you. richardkaye.com/guest. RICHARDKAYE/guest. Total transparency. When someone says, yes, I'd be interested, that's what I send to them. Mm-hmm. It's a short video, talks about me, what the audience is going to get out of it. It's got my bio. It's got some pictures. Your job is to make it so easy for them to say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I say, if this feels right, let's play.
Mhm.
And again, you're going to maintain eye contact.
Yep.
You're not going to brag about yourself. Let the host brag about you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much better that way. And show up in service.
Mhm.
Be very gentle.
Mhm.
And what not to do is don't be a pain in the butt to them. Hey, I called you yesterday and I didn't hear back. It's 24 hours. You'll never hear from them again. My world, I pick a number out of the air, 8 to 10 days.
Mm.
And I'm just following up from our conversation. And, no is an okay answer.
Mm.
I just got off a webinar with someone, and the host said, geez, you called me a month ago. I was just getting back from vacation. I'll call you. Great. You want them to come to you. Now, that's not manipulative. That's not that's not leveraging it. Be okay with no. No is a perfectly good answer.
Yes.
And when you get yes, thank you. Let's play.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the most powerful sales liberating tools, I think, is that when you give people permission to say no, you also give them permission to say yes. And it takes taking responsibility for them and their decision and their choice completely out of your hands, it should never be in your hands. Stop treating them like a child. Let them make the decision. And saying, by the way, if it's a no, or if this doesn't work for you, feel free to say no, is just a great way to completely exit that whole consideration from your brain when you're selling. And in pitching yourself to the market or to publicity, you're selling yourself and your services and your ability to be of service to that audience.
Yes. And be okay with no. There are enough shows programmed that be okay with no. And don't try and convince them that yes is the right answer. If they say no, be very gracious. Thank you. And there's something else you can ask. Jeanette, I know this maybe not a match for you, but who do you know? Where may be a fit? That's a nice way to say, who do you know?
Yeah.
And you get leads from that too.
Yes. Okay. Well, people would be mad at me if I didn't ask you about your presidential award. So tell us about that, how that came about. And because I was surprised to learn recently that Emmy Awards, that you actually have to pay to be nominated for Emmys. I did not know that previously.
Yes.
And there are a lot of awards that you can apply for and pay for to be considered. And often it's adjudicated from there. But I was like, oh, well, that's a whole new realm of awards that you can go and get, which do help with credibility because people don't necessarily know that.
Right.
Anyway, so
I'll give you another example and then I'll speak to that. I was at a conference and a friend of mine is upstage, a panel, giving testimony to the event leader. And then I realized she paid $1,000 to sit on that chair. Now, 400 people in the audience did not know that. But it gives her credit. No one does that. We don't do that. People do not have to pay us to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
One day I get a phone call. It was like ABC, PBS. You just won this thing. I was a little bit more sophisticated than that. Yeah. And it was like, holy, whoa. Yeah. And because of the timing, there was no ceremony. We got it in the mail. Oh. So, and now this is one of the things that I found out. Not a member of our team, but a connection we have. Mm-hmm. A young lady has access to the committee that adjudicate these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So now we have the ability to bestow these kinds of awards and myriad other awards on people. When you do outstanding work, ladies and gentlemen, we all want to be acknowledged. Mm-hmm. So, I got tons of them in the garage, and I don't want to diminish them. My chiropractic, from president of this and they're not important to me now. So this is the most recent one and the most joyous because it adds credibility.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So, but how did you get, did someone nominate you? How did that come about?
Someone nominated me. I went through the committee. And they said yes, and I got the phone call.
Okay.
Do I know specifically who and what? Well, now I do because we work with her. Do I know the committee? No.
Yeah.
And here's the key. Does it matter?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yes, I have a tab open on my computer about, I'm just looking to see which award it is, but it's an award that you get nominated for or nominate yourself for. And it's some businesswoman's, award. Those can help build credibility, and you can get someone else to nominate you, or you can nominate yourself in many cases.
You just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
Heartofhumanityaward.com.
Yeah.
Heartofhumanityaward.com. You can nominate yourself. Now, it's been delayed. My wife and I started this a year ago, but life happens. Feel free to nominate yourself, nominate people you know. It's heartofhumanityaward.com. I mean, it's so far from my consciousness. So thank you for reminding me.
There you go. So,
and you don't have to pay to be nominated.
Give us 3 different ways that people can reuse publicity, so that it's not just about getting your name in the newspaper or in the magazine article or something. But let's say someone does submit an article to a publication, and they get an article in there. What's 3 different ways they can leverage that publicity?
I'm going to up your ante. You're going to get 10 ways. I'll tell you a few now, but I'm going to give you 10. richardk.com/leverage.
Okay.
richardk.com/leverage.
Yep.
You're going to see 10 different ways to leverage anything that you've got and anything you will have. So, for example, and we keep going back to that, my email signature says recipient of the White House Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award.
Mm-hmm.
Every email anyone gets from me says that. Remember, we talked about Coca-Cola and top of mind awareness.
Yeah.
Number 2 is send an email to everyone on your mailing list. I just got this. Mm-hmm. Take a look at it. Here's a link to the article if it's a magazine or newspaper or whatever it is. If you're on, again, we get people on ABC, you name it. Mm-hmm. Here's a link to the interview, and chunk it down, because no one's going to watch a 20-minute interview. Mm-hmm. Today, you can chunk it down real easily and put it on social.
Yeah.
And don't expect anyone to say, hey, I want to work with you because it's there.
Yeah.
All you're doing is amplifying your influence, credibility, and exposure. So that's 3 ways, and there are 7 more in that short video.
Awesome. All right. And in terms of media now, we'd mentioned that you can get your own TV station, you can get produce and publish your own shows that get onto streaming platforms, etc. There's a lot of options now. There's millions of podcasts around the world. Lots of ways to get our voices out there and to potentially get seen in the sea of, competition. What are some of the most effective media platforms or channels to be on? Should people still be looking at traditional media like radio stations, for example? I listen to Sirius Radio, but I don't listen to traditional radio stations anymore. But should I still be on them? And so on. So and I know part of what you're going to say, I'll take this away. It depends on your audience. But let's say we know where our audience listens to or whatever. What's working nowadays?
All of it, just in different levels. And I love the question, because I'm going to come back to what we talked about. It's not the immediacy of being on the show. You get the recording and you leverage it. Mm-hmm. I would do like ABC 15. That's on between Good Morning America and some lady's talk show. I don't remember which one. If you're on ABC 15, you put that logo on your website, who cares what the show is about?
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We go back to ICE, influence, credibility, and exposure. You leverage all of these. Yeah, and don't find an audience that's not a match. You're wasting your time. Be selective. Don't be thirsty. Don't come from hunger. I got to be on this or else. I mean, I go back to relationships when I was single, and if I wanted to be with that woman, that's a turnoff. Or, the obverse of that. Yeah. Same thing when you're pitching. That's why I said, don't call them up the next day or 2 or 3. Give them time. They have lives too. Yeah. So find your audience, download that Richard Kaye /leverage. That's the key. It's not, I mean, unless you're John Grisham and you're a #1 New York Times bestselling author for 732 years, you know, most of us hit it, and then it's the leverage beyond that. Does that answer that, Jeanette?
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And so if people were thinking about getting started, what's a couple of simple steps people can take to dip their toe into the publicity world?
Know what you want to do. Reach out. Reach out to smaller newspapers. Pitch them. And learn. That's how I did it. I learned what worked and what didn't. I'm a huge fan of learning from mistakes. I'd rather than be someone else's mistakes. And I mean, reach out to me. Again, talk about publicity. Whether you want to engage with us or not, I'll be able to coach and mentor you. And there are a lot of people who will teach you how to do it on your own. You can do it on your own. If you've got more time than money, information is useless today. You can't sell information. What? Google it or whatever. Bing, whatever you go. Yeah. Find it. The distinction between working with us is our connections. We've got newspapers coming to us and saying, we're doing a story on thus and such. And who do you got?
Yeah.
And you can't buy your way into a newspaper because they're newspapers.
Yeah. So
make the right connections and find out. It's like the event we're having December 1 and 2 in Hollywood. You know, come. Is there a fee? Yeah, there's a fee because, you know, we got to rent a venue and such things. And schmooze, hang out with people. You don't want to be, just like you don't want to have the most expensive house on the lot. You don't want to be the smartest one in the room, although we know a lot of people who think they are.
Yes.
You want to go in and surrender, not to suck the lifeblood out of the room, but to give energy, because that raises everybody's vibration. It's like the networking event that my wife and I tell people we met online. You know, it wasn't a dating site. You know, it's who are you going to hang out with? Learn from people. I had a guy call me the other day. I want to pick your brain. Oh, jeez, you know, no. Don't tell anyone you want to pick their brain.
Yeah, it's really it sounds very and usurious.
Yeah. Go to serve. It's much more fun.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, Richard, where can people? You've already given us a lot of URLs, but tell them your your leverage gift again. The URL for that.
richardkaye.com /leverage.
Leverage. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've introduced something new at the Maturepreneur podcast. It's called The Vault, and the link to that will be in the show notes. What you can do is go into The Vault and not only get Richard's great tool for leveraging your publicity, but also go and see if there's other tools from previous speakers that are of service to you. If you would like a 24/7, 365-day-a-year giveaway where you can go and download various tools that are helpful to you, all free. You opt into their site, so yes, you will get emails and so forth. If it doesn't serve you, unsubscribe. If it does, learn from them. And get multiple gifts at one time, including Richard's. So we do that so that our guests get more exposure, our listeners get more value from the episode, and they can go in and see things they've missed and get more value. It's a win-win all the way around. So please go to The Vault. The information's in the show notes. It's something unique that we want to do to add value to everyone in our world here. Okay, so richardkaye.com is your primary place?
TopTAgency.com. RichardKaye.com is another thing. I teach negotiation. You can find stuff there. TopTAgency.com.
Okay. And the letter T, y'all, not
yes.
T, letter T.
Yeah.
Okay, toptagency.com for information on publicity and how to hire it out and to get experts to get you those connections so that you can leverage your game faster and easier. And they'll tell you if you're not ready for that or if there's things that you need to put in place before that so that you can be successful. And And it is something that you can start on your own. Yes, you can send out a press release. Yes, you can submit an article. Start to play with it. Start to see what works for you. And just very quickly, because you mentioned it, and I don't want to have an open loop here. You said that you turned that one episode into a year-long, every month show. How did you do that with the when you were doing the TV show? Chiropractic?
Because I was, thank you. Where's she going with this?
Yeah.
Because I was there to serve the audience.
Yeah.
I was there to serve the audience. And I remember the guy's name is he's dead now, Jerry G. Bishop, and his partner's name was Danuta. And it was morning live television. You didn't pre-record stuff back then.
Yeah.
And again, some of the things, if you're on television, you're either looking at the camera or looking at the host. Camera, no place else.
Yeah.
And just by elucidating you, I made them shine.
Yeah.
I made them look brilliant. And it was intriguing. I was teaching stuff about, again, chiropractor. I was teaching people about quality of life, not getting rid of symptoms. I mean, a headache is not because of a lack of aspirin in the body. Yeah. And giving people information about how they can improve the quality of their lives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is all about. It's just not the physical body. It's the spiritual, mental, emotional, financial quality of your life. The more people you can serve, the better financial care you can take of yourself and your family. That's improvement in quality of life. That's overarching everything. I don't care if you're fixing HVAC, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems, selling carpet. It's all about improving quality of life. So that's the message I was delivering. Now, back then, they didn't have data to find out, but they must have gotten calls. Hey, this guy's good. That's what you want. I choose you.
Cool. And so did they approach you or did you
yes.
them?
Well, the first approach was me.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I kid you not, first time we cut the commercial, I was done, it says, I want you back. Cool, that works.
Okay. All right. So they obviously be a good guest, be a good value provider, and don't be afraid to suggest a way to continue to provide value as part of it, because they may or may not have done that before, or they may not have thought of it or whatever, and they'll say yes or no or an alternative, but don't be afraid to ask. If you are afraid to ask, the answer is always no. Gandhi
said, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, exactly. And he's always right. So you gotta just do what he says. All right, everybody. So I hope you found this helpful and that you, I would encourage you to share this episode. If you haven't subscribed, please do. But share this episode on your social media platform or to your friends and family, to support them in feeling a little bit more ready to, or if not ready, a little more willing to get out there and be seen and be heard. And there may be some of you, and so just to answer this real quick, Richard, because we got a little over time, but you know how much I love your wisdom. So one of the questions that people have is, but what if I don't know, what if I don't have my sound bites and I don't have my message completely clear and I don't have, that messaging down pat? What advice do you give people about finding their unique voice and their message?
We help you develop that.
Okay.
We help you develop it. There's a guy on a networking program that I'm on, and he says, I teach you how to develop your elevator pitch. Get rid of elevator pitch. A prospect called me, and I said, so tell me what you do. He says, I'm going to give you my elevator pitch. I said, I don't want to hear that. Yeah. I want to hear your soul.
Yeah.
An elevator pitch. I was working with someone the other day. He says, I'm an actor, and if I memorize a script, I can, sell stuff. I said, don't. This is not acting. Be your true, authentic self. Be connected with the other person. Watch them. Watch their physiology. I'm going to be really obnoxious. If they're talking, if you're talking and they go, you said something that didn't resonate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked about stepping out of your comfort zone. Ask them, that didn't connect with you. Feedback. When you're in the nascent stage, Jeanette and anybody else, Ask feedback.
Yeah.
Watch this. Imagine a group of adults sitting around, and someone enters the room and tries to stand up and go splat right down on their face. And everyone says, yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
And that person tries to stand up again, flops right on their back. Now, this could be a 20-minute story. Watching a baby learn to walk is nothing, first of all, it's delightful, but it's always encouragement. Seek that encouragement. Learn, get out of your own way, get out of your ego. Stop trying to sell and connect, and you will do much better. Is that useful?
Yes, absolutely. All right, my friends, please do share this episode. Do subscribe. Do go to the vault and grab Richard's great gift, as well as some others that are there for you. It will be growing as we get more and more of our speakers' valuable products and services and information in there. And if you are looking to figure out what your message is, reach out to me. I can support you with that. Reach out to Richard. He can support you with that. If you're looking for how to take that in the direction of publicity, one of the things that I work with you on is clarifying your why. Why do you do what you do, and how do you use that to differentiate yourself in the market? There's a million people who do what you do, a million people who do what I do, but I do it for the reason I do it, that you will resonate with or not, right? My why is that I want you to get that you matter and live like you do, because I always wanted to matter, right? I always wanted to get on the damn list. So that's what I see. That's what I care about. And that's what underlies everything I do. When we know that, people will resonate with our why. So if that is of interest, please check out and connect with me about your why and articulating that, because you can also then use that in your publicity. That is the story, your Genesis story, your hero story about why you do what you do, why you care. And that's what people want to know, is why you care, why you're here to serve. And then do be seen, be heard. Your message deserves to be amplified, which is what Richard and his team does for you. So let's get you seen and heard and making the difference that only you can make. So Richard, what's one last thing you want to leave everyone with when it comes to stepping up and stepping out?
I said I have a few favorite quotes. One of them is, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So it's an invitation. Step out of judgment. You have no idea what's going on in that other person's life, and it's a reflection of who you be. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing so much from your heart. I appreciate it, and your expertise and your wisdom. This is exactly what you have the opportunity to do, ladies and gentlemen. Share your wisdom, share your heart, and make a difference like Richard has today. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.